Hiya, wheelchair fighting man here. Basically, this vlog, or whatever you want to call it, is to do with the one, the only Bernard B. Hop, the alien, the executioner Hopkins. Could he be the forgotten great of world boxing? Now, the reason I asked this question so shortly after his recent retirement is that I I think that respect is not given, it's earned, and no more in boxing or in a combat sport is it earned more than Bernard Hopkins' case, especially in boxing, because the one thing that boxing kind of doesn't have going for it is it's not a sport where age is your friend. We see a lot of fighters age in the ring overnight, get old all of a sudden. They look young on the outside, but on the inside, the body can't react as quick as what it used to. It's just not there anymore. Taken one too many shots. Now Bernard Hopkins, his story is phenomenal. He served a jail sentence for being a heavy on the street, for being a bit of a Shylock, and I think that was the reason why. And he got stabbed a few times near the heart, survived that, but then went to prison for a few years. And whilst he was in there, took up boxing again, which was a pursuit that he pursued when he was younger, and ended up becoming the prison board champion. But more to the point, here is a man who has not only defended his undisputed middleweight titles now, seeing as we're in a sport that's become so diluted and so sort of almost, it's become diluted and it's become almost hackneyed in the sense that there's so many divisions. Here is a man that basically won the majority of the belts, won all the belts of middleweight, defended them 20 times, won the majority of belts light heavyweight, but also went on to do something more than just win belts and win fights. He ended up becoming the oldest world champion, of all time. I think it was at the age of 46. He then beat that record again at 48, and then at 49, and was the oldest man to defend a world title successfully at the age of 50. And he retired recently at the age of 52, which, to be honest with you, is phenomenal. Now, one of the reasons I say he could be a forgotten great of world boxing is because of those reasons alone. Bernard Hopkins, people look at his style and they go, oh well, it was boring in the early days. It was defensive. It was this. It was that. But the reason he got the name the Executioner was because he knocked out some guy in 16 seconds or something like that. But so that doesn't sound too boring to me. But however, you look at who he's influenced now, and it speaks for itself. Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, the great Americans that are coming through that are defensive, using the shoulder roll. This is a guy who really, by all knowledge and all everything in your mind should have told you, he lost his first pro fight, come out of prison, could have gone back in. He admits that himself, but chose not to. Here is a guy of tremendous self-discipline, because he said in interviews that he fought that way to not just protect himself, but to protect his future. And he has now gone on to really influence the world of boxing in the way that he is he's a majority owner of Golden Boy, so that's given him 60 million in the bank. And I mean, look at the people he's beaten. Okay, he's beaten about 3 or 4 generations of boxers. So here we go. First time round, who did he beat? Well, let's just look at some of the names on his record. Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, Kelly Pavlik. He shared the ring with Jermaine Taylor twice. Um, even though he lost, he shared the ring with Jermaine Taylor. Joe Calzaghe, even though he lost. Roy Jones, I think they won one apiece. Antonio Tarver, Sergei Kovalev, um, John Pascal, uh, Antonio Tavoris Cloud, and Berbet Shamanov, um, and that's pretty much the list of the greats I can think of off the top of my head that he's beaten. I mean, there are a few others in there, I'm sure, that I've forgotten, but most of those guys, Hall of Fame material. I mean, Kelly Pavlik took him apart when no one gave him a chance. Again, at middleweight, he went up to light heavyweight, and he's fought in the classic divisions, and that's what counts. He's not fought in the subdivisions of. I mean, I like super middleweight. It's my favourite division. I must admit, it's one of my favourite divisions. I like the cruiserweight division when you get a good fight, but light heavyweight, middleweight, bantamweight, strawweight, flyweight, all these weights, they're classic weights, lightweight, featherweight, super this, super that, like this, like that, never really existed. Didn't exist until recently, and in my mind, it's like, you know, Bernard Hopkins defined what it was to be an old school fighter like Archie Moore. Put on 8 pounds to go up a weight, or in Archie's case it was a lot more. I think it was 16, I think it's always been 8 pounds between weights. But to have these 4 pound interim weight divisions is fine. It gives a lot of other boxers opportunities, and that's what Bernard Hopkins is also about. In retirement, I think he's going to write a new chapter. There's a film called Champs, which is being produced by Mike Tyson, and has him and Evander Holyfield and Tyson and a few other good boxers in there. But Bernard Hopkins wants to make sure that boxers have some sort of health security, some sort of health insurance in place. He wants to make sure that there's some sort of just general sort of committee, so that the majority of boxers that do this don't end up with, even if you see them on TV in America, don't end up with 10 grand for getting their head beaten for, or less than that, for one night, and they can sustain a living on it. So his legacy, let's hope, will carry on. He's passing his knowledge on. He's left the game with his mind, his marbles, and his money, the 3Ms, and he's an absolutely fantastic speaker. There's a great Beyond the Glory documentary on him, and I would suggest you watch that. But when they make a story of this guy's life, I don't think it's going to live up to the actual story of his life. But I don't want him to be forgotten, because here is someone who holds, he's broken his own record 3 times. And he's created records, he's broken records. He's someone who has achieved history, dared to be great, and has been great, and and is now seeking to revolutionise and breathe new life into an archaic sport that is booming, but needs to adapt to the new millennium. And I think Bernard Hopkins will be key in that. And he is one of the all-time greats. To have 3 nicknames, to go through 3 generations of boxers, I don't need to say any more. I really don't. Let's just hope we don't forget him. Let's just hope that, in years to come, he will be mentioned in the same vein as fighters like Archie Moore, Sugar Ray Robinson. I know I'm talking big names here, but this is a guy who's had a long career and deserves to be mentioned amongst the greats, because he's done that at a time where, like I say, boxing has been so diluted and so watered down, and he's actually made it seem challenging again for a lot of other boxers out there.